Creamy garlic sauces are fantastic. They're really popular on the channel and I know you guys love them. So we're gonna be doing this for the meal prep series. It's not actually using cream in this one though. We're gonna be using something else to get that creamy texture. And this pasta tastes absolutely delicious. It's highly nutritious and it's easy to make. Let's get straight into it.
Alright, starting out, we're going to need 4 large tomatoes. These ones are called gourmet tomatoes in Australia, but you can really use any type of your choice. Slice these into thin, even-sized strips. Then with each individual strip, we're going to slice it into thirds or quarters, rotate it 90 degrees, and dice these into small pieces. Just remember though, the larger they are, the longer they'll take to cook. Next is 2 bell peppers or capsicums, one's large, one's small. What we're going to be doing with these is slicing them in half, pick out the stem, the seeds, and the pith, and then you can bang it on the bench to remove anything that might be stuck in there. Everyone does do this differently though, so just do what you feel comfortable with. Now with each half, we're going to trim these up to make them easier to work with. We're going to rotate them 90 degrees and dice them into the same size pieces as the tomato. And what I've shown here is one slicing through the skin and one slicing through the flesh. They're both drastically different, and depending on how sharp your knife is, this can change, so just do whatever's easiest. Because this is a garlic sauce, we're obviously going to need garlic. This right here is 5 freshly peeled cloves. Run these along a microplane to create a paste. This will extract the most flavor out of the garlic. You can also roughly chop it, but we do want that strong flavor in this recipe. Now this recipe is split into 3 parts. The first part is the sauce, so place a large pan over a medium-high heat. Add in 1 tablespoon or 20 milliliters of olive oil, as well as the tomatoes and the bell peppers or capsicums, sea salt flakes and cracked black pepper to taste. Then what we're going to do is gently mix this around, cook it for about 6 minutes, just to let this break down slightly. Obviously during that 6 minutes this won't be completely soft, but we will be adding in more ingredients. We can then add in the garlic for that beautiful infusion into the sauce. Gently mix this up, make sure you concentrate on breaking it because it can clump, and then cook this for another 4 minutes, gently mixing it around occasionally. In the meantime, place a large pot of water over a high heat to bring it to a boil and generously season it with salt. After 4 minutes on the sauce and 10 minutes in total so far, just give it another mix through. The tomatoes will be broken down, but the capsicum or bell pepper will still have a little bit of firmness to it. This is completely fine because we're going to be adding in 1 teaspoon or 2.5 grams of onion powder, 2 teaspoons or 5 grams of sweet paprika, half a teaspoon or 1 gram of dried oregano, and half a teaspoon or 1 gram of dried basil. Get in there again, give this a really good mix around for those flavors to become friends, and cook this for 3 more minutes just whilst occasionally mixing it. And then what we're going to do is add in 3/4 of a cup or 180 milliliters of chicken stock. You can also use vegetable stock if you wanted to. Mix this around yet again and then just bring this to a boil, and what we're going to do now is concentrate on cooking that capsicum or bell pepper. Once it has come to a boil, we can then place on a lid, reduce the heat to low, and then just let this cook for about 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, give it another mix around. Everything should be nice and soft at this stage. We're going to then remove it from the stovetop and allow it to cool down for about 15 to 20 minutes before adding it into a blender or food processor. You can also use an immersion blender. You'll get the best smoothness doing it that way. But if you are using a blender or food processor, just make sure you let it cool down. Otherwise, you'll run the risk of it exploding. With that in, place this onto a high speed and blend it up until nice and smooth. It won't be completely smooth because we haven't removed the skin from the vegetables. You'll need to roast the capsicums or bell peppers and also use a concast on the tomatoes, which is boiling them in water to remove that skin. Anyway, once that's done, add in 240 grams of soft, low-fat cream cheese. You can use full fat if you wanted to for extra flavor. But again, place this onto a high speed, blend it up until smooth, creamy, that beautiful color as well of the rosé. But what we've made here is a cheats version of romesco sauce. This can then be popped aside for the time being. Okay, part 1 and 2 are out of the way, which is the sauce and the boiling water. Part 3 is placing another pan over a high heat this time. Add in 2 teaspoons or 10 milliliters of olive oil. That isn't extra virgin olive oil, by the way, as well as 750 grams of 90% lean beef mince or ground beef, sea salt flakes, and cracked black pepper to taste. Let this cook for about 3 minutes just to get that nice crust on it before we can then break this up and cook for 6 minutes, mixing it around occasionally just until all of that beef mince is nice and browned off. Obviously, because we've used a lean cut, we won't have all of that fat in the pan, but if you do, you will need to drain it. Going back to the pasta water that's now at a boil, remove the lid, add in 500 grams of any pasta of your choice. In this case, I've gone with rigatoni. Give it a mix to prevent it from clumping up and then just cook it for 1 minute less than the packet instructions. For the beef mix, we're going to be adding in the same herbs and spices we did for the sauce, which is 2.5 grams of onion powder, 5 grams of sweet paprika, 1 gram of dried oregano, and 1 gram of dried basil. Give this a really good mix through, allow it to cook for 4 more minutes whilst mixing it occasionally. Then we're going to add in that romesco sauce. Make sure you scrape the bowl out to get everything in there. Then mix this through yet again. Cook this for 2 minutes, allowing it to come to a gentle simmer in the meantime. This will reduce, it will thicken up, and it goes absolutely perfect with this beef. Also during this stage, you can also check it for seasoning, add in sea salt flakes and cracked black pepper to taste. Once your pasta is cooked 1 minute less than the packet instructions, remove it from the stovetop, allow it to drain, then we can add it straight into the sauce and we're going to mix this around straight away, getting that sauce coated all over that pasta. The pasta will thicken up the sauce even more from the starch content, but what we're going to do now is just allow this to cook for about 1 to 2 minutes until everything is thick and coated. This looks absolutely delicious and it smells incredible too. After that's all done, we can then remove this from the stovetop. As for serving them up, portion them out into 5 750ml containers. There's a link in the description if you're interested. And what I'm going to do is garnish them with some Parmesan cheese. You can also add this into the sauce whilst it's cooking, or you can add it in when you're ready to serve. It's completely up to you. But what we've just created are these absolutely delicious and beautiful creamy garlic pasta meal prep. Storing super simple, allow them to cool down for about 15 to 20 minutes before placing on the lids. Put them in the fridge for up to 4 days and in the freezer for up to 4 months. Reheating's easy as well, microwave or in a pan, and these are the macros for the complete dish, and each serving size is 530 grams. Only thing left to do is, of course, we can then dig in.
I've tried many ways to make this recipe using different techniques and methods, using different ingredients at different stages, but the flavor that we get in this one tastes absolutely perfect and I wouldn't change a thing. Obviously you can add the Parmesan cheese in whilst the sauce is cooking if you wanted to, or you can add it at the end or whenever you're ready to reheat it. And meal prep or not, just serve this in a regular bowl and have it as dinner. It tastes absolutely incredible. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.